Your friend has 2 degrees, runs a department at 34, and can debate anyone into the ground about fiscal policy or moral philosophy. She also just moved in with someone who disappeared for 3 days without a word, and she's the one apologizing for being too demanding. Something doesn't add up. If intelligence protected you from bad relationships, the smartest people would have the best ones. They don't. The opposite is often true. The people with the sharpest minds end up in the blindest relationships, and the reason has nothing to do with stupidity. It has everything to do with what intelligence does when you point it at the wrong target. Cognitive ability is a weak predictor of relationship outcomes. That sounds counterintuitive, but the data backs it up. Research shows that emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize and manage emotions in yourself and others, predicts relationship satisfaction far more reliably than raw IQ. A meta-analysis by Malouf and colleagues found emotional intelligence correlated with relationship satisfaction at 0.32. No comparable effect size exists for IQ anywhere in the literature. You can score in the top percentile on any standardized test and still make the same relationship mistakes as everyone else. Intelligence and romantic judgment operate on different tracks. One measures how well you process information. The other measures how well you process feelings. They are not the same skill. The first mechanism is rationalization. Intelligence gives you a powerful and dangerous tool, the ability to construct convincing explanations for almost anything. A partner who ignores you for a week becomes dealing with stress. Someone who lies becomes protecting the relationship. A person who criticizes everything you do becomes just being honest. Your brain treats these explanations the way a lawyer treats a case. You gather evidence, build an argument, and arrive at a verdict that lets you stay. You're not seeing the situation clearly. You're winning an argument inside your own head, and you're good enough at arguing that you win every time. Most people would look at the same behavior and say, that's unacceptable. They can't construct a sophisticated defense for it, so they don't try. The smart person can. Think about how this plays out in real time. Your partner snaps at you in front of your friends. Within seconds, your brain is already generating explanations. They had a hard day. They're under pressure at work. You were being annoying anyway. Each explanation is reasonable on its own. Together, they form an airtight case for why the behavior wasn't that bad. You've just argued yourself out of a valid complaint. Every red flag gets a footnote. Every warning sign gets a counter-argument. Your intelligence didn't protect you, it disarmed you. The second mechanism, the fixer identity. Smart people are used to solving problems. They've been rewarded for it their whole lives. Good grades, promotions, praise, all of it tied to their ability to figure things out. Give them a challenge, and they go to work. A difficult partner becomes another problem to solve. A toxic dynamic becomes a system that needs optimization. They approach the relationship the way they'd approach a project at work, with strategy and effort and a timeline for improvement. And when the timeline slips, they don't question the project. They adjust the timeline. This feels noble. It even looks noble from the outside. Your friends see someone trying hard, investing deeply, refusing to give up. But underneath, it's a power fantasy dressed up as compassion. You love the version you could fix them into, not the person standing in front of you. And when they don't change, you don't leave. You double down. Because quitting feels like failure, and smart people don't fail. You keep watering a dead plant, convinced that one more day of effort will make the difference. The imagination of what it could be keeps you chained to what it is. People with anxious attachment styles, affecting roughly 11 to 25% of the population depending on how you measure it, learn early that love is conditional, that you have to earn it. They gravitate toward partners who make them earn it again. The brain recognizes the pattern and calls it chemistry. Attachment researchers have documented this for decades. Anxious people want love, but chaos is what feels like love. Look at the pattern. As a child, you reached toward a parent who turned away. As an adult, you reach toward a partner who does the same. Same posture, same desperation, different person. The repetition isn't coincidence. It's your nervous system trying to solve an old wound with a new version of the same problem. That word, chemistry, deserves a closer look. When you grew up with inconsistent attention or emotional neglect, your nervous system calibrated to that environment. Calm, consistent love feels boring, unsettling even. You feel nothing and assume something is wrong. Drama feels like home. Your brain misreads anxiety as passion. It misreads unpredictability as excitement. You chase the feeling without realizing you're chasing a ghost. You stand at a fork in the road, and the dangerous path pulls you toward it like gravity. The smooth path with the warm light feels wrong. Too easy, too quiet. Your whole body leans toward the thorns because that's where the electricity is. That's not destiny. That's a misfiring calibration. Your body registers all of this on a physical level, not just an emotional one. Studies by Beck, Pietromonaco, and colleagues show that people with high attachment anxiety have stronger cortisol and heart rate responses when interacting with emotionally distant partners. The anxious avoidant pairing produces the strongest physiological reactivity of any attachment combination. Your heart rate spikes. Your stress hormones flood your system. You can feel your pulse in your throat while they walk away through the door. The stress response is real, measurable, and intense. But the brain labels it attraction. Your neurochemistry overrides your judgment, and your IQ can't intervene because it's not the part of the brain running the show at that moment. This is where intelligence becomes a liability instead of an asset. You can analyze your attachment style. You can read the books and quote the studies. You can sit surrounded by highlighted papers and psychology texts, mapping out every pattern with precision. But naming the pattern doesn't break it. Knowing you're drawn to unavailable people doesn't make an available person feel any less boring. There's a common belief that self-awareness leads to better choices. It doesn't always. Sometimes self-awareness just gives you a more sophisticated way to justify the same choice. I know I have an anxious attachment style, so I need to be patient while they work through their avoidance. That sounds like growth. It's rationalization with a psychology vocabulary. The behavior hasn't changed. The explanation just got smarter. You press the same button every time. You just have a better theory about why you're pressing it. The third mechanism is the intelligence trap itself. Smart people are used to being right. They've built an identity around competence. When a relationship goes wrong, admitting they made a bad choice threatens that identity at its core. They can't say, I picked the wrong person. That would mean they made a mistake. And they don't make mistakes. They find reasons, they find context, they find explanations that preserve the story they tell themselves about who they are. The relationship becomes a thesis they have to defend, and they have 17 years of experience defending theses. The mirror shows competence, the reality shows confusion. They trust the mirror. So they stay. They stay because leaving would require admitting they were wrong about something fundamental. The ego cost exceeds the relationship cost. This is sunk cost thinking applied to love. Russ Bolt's investment model, validated across decades of research, shows that people stay in unsatisfying relationships based on past investment rather than current satisfaction. The years you've spent, the sacrifices you've made, the explanations you've given your family, every investment becomes another weight in the backpack. Alarm clocks for the time you've lost, photo frames for the memories you've curated, keys to doors you've already walked through. The path ahead leads to a cliff. You can see the drop, but the backpack is so heavy that turning around feels impossible. So you keep walking. There's also the question of what SMART actually measures. Cognitive tests measure pattern recognition, logical reasoning, and information processing. They don't measure emotional regulation or interpersonal trust. They don't measure your ability to recognize when someone is manipulating you or your capacity to walk away from something that feels intense but harms you. Someone can score at the top on cognitive tests and still struggle with the basics of emotional connection. The test paper says 98. The dinner table says otherwise. 1 plate of hot food, 1 plate of cold food, and an empty chair across from you. These are different skills. Raw processing power doesn't fix unprocessed emotions. Knowing how to think doesn't tell you how to feel. And it definitely doesn't tell you when to leave. Smart people also carry a specific fear that leaving means admitting they picked poorly, and picking poorly means their judgment is flawed, and flawed judgment means maybe they're not as smart as they thought. The relationship becomes a referendum on their competence. They will endure years of unhappiness before they endure the humiliation of being wrong about something this big. So what works? First, stop trusting your own explanations. This sounds simple. It isn't. When you find yourself constructing an elaborate defense for someone's bad behavior, notice that you're doing it. Then ask one question. Would I accept this explanation from a friend? If your friend told you the same story, you'd see right through it. You'd tell them to leave. Apply your own standard to yourself. Your reasoning is only as good as your willingness to use it against your own hopes. The moment you catch yourself building a case, stop building. Ask whether a jury of your peers would convict or acquit. If they'd acquit the behavior, fine. If they'd tell you to run, run. Second, redefine what chemistry means. That rush you feel when someone is inconsistent, when they text back after 2 days of silence, when they show up and everything feels electric. That's your nervous system recognizing an old pattern, not finding your soulmate. Pay attention to the relationships that feel too easy or boring. Those are often the healthy ones. Boredom in this context means your body has dropped its guard. Your threat detection system has gone quiet. That's not emptiness. That's safety. Learn to sit with that discomfort instead of running from it. Give calm a chance to register as something other than a warning sign. Third, separate the problem from the project. Ask yourself one question and answer it honestly. If this person never changed, would I still want to be here? Not, could I tolerate it? Would you want to be here? If the answer is no, you're in a renovation project with emotional costs, not a relationship. You can love someone and still recognize they're bad for you. Both can be true at once. Love is not a contract that requires you to stay. Love doesn't obligate you to suffer. And fixing someone is not the same as loving them, no matter how much it feels like devotion. Fourth, make decisions before the emotion hits. Don't wait until you're in love to set your boundaries. Decide what you will and won't accept when you're still thinking clearly, before the neurochemistry takes over. Write it down. Be specific. I will not stay with someone who disappears for days. I will not stay with someone who dismisses my feelings. When you're deep in the relationship and your brain starts generating explanations for why this time is different, that list becomes your anchor. You made the rule when you could see straight. Follow it when you can't. The list doesn't care about chemistry or hope or the story you're telling yourself. It only cares about what you promised yourself you wouldn't tolerate. Set down the toolbox. Stop fixing. The machine will keep sparking whether you stay or go. Walk toward the clear sky. The deeper shift is about identity. You have to stop tying your self-worth to your ability to solve problems. Being smart doesn't mean you have to fix everything. Every difficult situation isn't a puzzle waiting for your solution. Some situations are just bad, and the smart move is to leave. Walking away from something you can't fix isn't failure. It's the clearest thinking you'll ever do. You also have to grieve the version of love you grew up with. If chaos felt like love, then peace will feel like loss for a while. That grief is your nervous system recalibrating. Let it happen. Sit with it. The tears on the garden bench are part of the recalibration. The calm you're resisting is the relationship you've been looking for. Expect a withdrawal period. When you leave a toxic dynamic, your brain goes through something similar to withdrawal. The highs and lows were keeping your dopamine system activated. Without them, everything feels flat. You might miss the chaos the way a smoker misses the ritual. Not because it was good for you, but because your brain got used to the rhythm. This phase passes. But you need to know it's coming so you don't confuse it with a sign you made the wrong choice. And stop confusing intellectual understanding with emotional healing. You can diagram your trauma on a whiteboard and still repeat the pattern on Friday night. Understanding is step one. Behavioral change requires repetition and discomfort over time. There's no hack for it, not even for you. The same brain that got you into this can't think its way out. You have to act your way out.